Alright everyone, welcome to episode 11 of Project LS 400. In the previous episode you've seen me work on the power steering pump. I already done some work to the car and I reinstalled the power steering pump and I connected a lot of other lines, and the goal for this episode is to hopefully try to start the engine. Have a lot to check, have a lot to install. For instance, the radiator over here, the front serpentine belt has to go in, thermostat housing and all. And I need to check a lot of lines that I took off. I just installed the line and I saw that a hose clamp was missing. So I went on and got my assortment of Jubilee clips. So hopefully we can at least fill the engine up with coolant, check all the fluids, and hopefully we can go for the first start of the engine. First thing I have to do at the moment is to install a Jubilee clip on a coolant line down there, and I have to check out the cable routing because I took a lot of cables and clips and you hit a brake, that's how brittle they are. I removed a lot of them, and a lot of these holders, these brackets had to come off, and also a lot of those things were missing. So I will start to check all the lines I took off, put them back in place, verify that the routing is correct, and then start to fill the engine up with fluids and go for a first start and hear how it runs. So, as Mark from Twin Stick Garage always says, less talk, more work. So, let's go! So I just installed a Jubilee clip I just talked about. It's that one over there. There is this coolant line running in front of the engine. This one over here, and it splits off to the tank over here, and it runs behind the coil over there. So I had to take off this lead again, not small effort, screwed in a couple of bolts, so that one's in. Now I run into a slight problem which I think we can overcome. If you look down there, I'll point. Oh, it's easier said than done to point. You can see these two tips, and they go to the regulator on the power steering pump. These tips, these outlets, or these connections aren't marked, so I'm not exactly sure which one goes there. What I do know is that this one goes to the intake line, the air intake, and the other one goes somewhere around here, so I have to look it up in the workshop manual. And while I'm filling this, I know that this clamp over there needs to go on that line over there. I have to do that, I forgot that. Hopefully I can slide it in. I replaced the old hose that was on the power steering fluid reservoir on there. This is a return line. It's not pressurized, and when I had the old line, I put it on and I saw it was cracked, so I immediately replaced it with this line, which officially is I believe it's an LPG line, which I had a lot of left over when I removed the LPG installation. So next up is to check the workshop manual and to see which connector of those two down there goes where. So I was looking in the workshop manual to find out how these hoses are connected and which connection goes where, but there's nothing more in there than this working principle drawing. You have the power steering pump over here. Here is the speed regulator, and one line connects to the intake before the throttle valve, and this is the intake plenum. It has a connection that goes to the speed control device. And what this does, when the steering is on full lock, the power steering pump has most load on it, and because of the load it will slow down the engine, and this speed control valve opens as a bypass when the engine is idling actually, So when the car is in neutral or in park and you put a steering rotated to full lock, then you know everyone recognizes this with a hydraulic power steering. It will slow down the engine speed because there's a big load on the engine from the power steering pump. So what it does, it opens it serves as a bypass, and it sends air through this valve towards the intake plenum as an idle speed control. Got everything connected. The lower clamp of the return line is on. Both the vacuum lines for the engine speed control are on. I believe this one goes there. And then I notice this one isn't connected. Not sure how this goes. I have to look it up. And I also found a missing clamp from the coolant line down below. Anyway, got a nice Jubilee clip on, and I'll leave it. So the next thing I'm going to do, and the last thing I'll do this evening, is to install the thermostat and the thermostat housing. This is the new thermostat installed, and when you install a new thermostat, it's important you put it the right way in this case with a spring facing backwards and this little bleeding breather valve on top of the radiator. Now it's time for the housing to go on, and believe it or not, but I've been searching 14 hours for this. I ended up cleaning my entire workshop and my storage room, and when I was about to call the wreckers to ask if they have a new one, I found it. So it literally is almost 20 hours later now. I finished filming yesterday evening, and I was about to start this morning at around 9. It's almost 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and I finally found this thing. So it's time for that to go on. Then I can continue to install the radiators. I bought new coolant. It's over here, ethylene glycol based quality brand, so I can toss that in. So one step further. Small behind the scenes scene. This is the radiator I brought home to clean it up, and I had to make up a new stud. This is one of the studs that holds the fan bracket. Oh no, it holds the water pump, and it has this hex knot shape made into it. Problem I have with this, there goes a cover over here, and this prevents the cover to fit onto the engine itself. I forgot to film the radiator fan yesterday, but this is what it looks like now. Very nice and clean. Here are the new stud I made. Gonna show you straight away what my problem was, and I brought some ATF fluid to fill up the power steering reservoir. As you can see, we have this stud over here, and it has the hex bolt on there, and this cover here, this is the right hand side timing belt cover. This bushing slides over that stud, but the hex head on there prevents this from sitting flush with the casting of the engine block. What I'm going to do is remove this and throw in the new stud I made with a little thread locker Loctite on the threads. There it is. Put some Loctites on the threads, and this bushing is long enough to, put a washer on the outside to apply force against the water pump housing. So I'll toss that in next and show you the end result. Usually use the blue Loctite with small dab so it can be held in place, and when I need to turn it out, I'll screw on 2 nuts, and then I can easily screw it out. Just want to screw it in my hand as far as I can until it bottoms out, and I put some zinc spray on it to give it the same coating as all the other bolts, nuts and washers have, the rust inhibitor. Okay, This is about as far as I can drive it in by hand. Here is the camshaft position sensor. And here's the other connector for the camshaft position sensor. Let's try it. It's going in. First check if this one fits. I put on this cover on the other side. It covers the spark plugs and the spark plug leads, but I think I'll take it off for a brief moment so I can see if the spark plug seals aren't leaking. Was a bit too quick with that one. I just realized I need to take off the power steering pump pulley again in order to install the alternator back on its place. It gives me a bit more room, put my hands through and connect the lines. Luckily, put that aside. Alright, we'll have a second attempt to install the alternator. I thought I had to connect the power line from the bottom, but it's not the case. The connector goes down. It's easier to put in from the bottom, so give it another try. Cables are very long, so I think I'll manage to. Now I have to crawl under the car, install this bracket, and it uses a 10mm bolt, if I'm not mistaken. Now let's reinstall the power steering pump pulley for the nth time. Let's see which way it go on. Alrighty, that's one in. So what's next? I think we're up to install the radiator and fan shroud. Alright, got the radiator in my hands. Shed a bit more light on my work. Now let's see if it still fits. Now we're going places. That side is in and that side is in. Okay, that wasn't all too complicated. Let's get those brackets in. I painted. I think I'll replace these rusty bolts. But first put a pair of new ones in and later the original ones. Put a clip back on. Let's remove this old spark plug. It's literally used as a plug at the moment. Horn. So here I got some new bolts with new washers. And even though the quality of these are very good, kind of use these in a car. I've used other standard bolts where the original ones were too rusty. These are good quality, but somehow always tells me someone forgot or has lost the parts and had to use non-original ones. What we'll do now, the radiator hoses, and then I have to find out what the correct order is. I believe it's fan shroud first, lower half, fan back in with a pulley on here, and then the upper radiator hose. Alrighty. Yeah, that's much better. I prefer this. No interference with the pulleys. Okay folks, I managed to get the lower radiator hose in. Now it's time for the fan shroud and the fan itself. I'm gonna clean up this flange of this pulley here. A little fly rust on there. Fly rust, call it in English. I'll blink it in here somewhere, the correct term. A little bit of rust and oxidation. I'm gonna clean it off so it comes off the next time I wanted to, if need be. I still don't have the bolt for the AC pump, and I'll have to get one from the shop. I'll pick it later up. Okay, buddy. Get my lamp on the other side. Yeah, that's better. One on top, one on the hose, which apparently is easier said. I'm not sure if I can get a fan shroud on this way. Let's give this a... Yeah, I guess I can. So it's safe to put a fan belt on. So the fan is in, runs through. It's difficult to tighten these nuts. Because it's difficult to hold the pulley. I don't want to damage it by holding it with a big wrench. So that's in. Check it, runs straight and through, it doesn't wobble. So that's good. So now it's time to put the serpentine belt in, then fan shroud and the upper coolant hose, and then we can start to fill up this thing. Okay guys, let's get the camera a bit more over here. Okay, how many attempts does it take before I have to refer to the workshop manual to find out the correct order of the serpentine belt? Oh, it's pretty warped from packaging. There seems to be a kink in it, might be hard to get out. Anyway, let's get it around the fan and behind all those pulleys. Yeah, I'm giving up straight away. I'll pick up the workshop manual and see how things need to run. I've been writing manuals for so long, especially for automotive, so always when people screw up, they say read a Varkin manual. So let's try it myself. And there's been a lot of work for the folks that created this workshop manual. Oh, there has to be an idler pulley in here. Let's see. I've forgotten that one. Yeah. Yeah, good thing I found out. When yesterday I was looking for the plastic thermostat housing, this one here, I found this box and I figured, oh, might have ordered a pulley too many. But here it is. It's the idler pulley for the serpentine belt. See this? Icy road warning. It's Thursday now, and on Monday it was spring in full swing. I was out riding my motorbike the entire afternoon. Now it's Thursday, I'm back at the shop. Yesterday I had already visions of me driving the LS 400. It's nice sunny weather. Now we have this, and we have snow predicted for this evening. Anyhow, let's head back in the shop and pick up where we left off. I had to quit filming yesterday because my phone battery died, but I continued to install the things. The coolant hoses are installed, the fan is installed. I installed the battery because when I need to fill the cooling system, the interior heater has to be set to full heat, to hot, to open the heater valve over there to fully opened. And I was in the process of filling it with coolant. I had about 8 liters in. The total capacity is 10.5 liters. And this is a 5-liter tank, and it holds, let's see, my camera will focus. Does it say? 1.32 gallons equals 5 liter. So I have 6 liters in, and I could see no leaks, so I was happy with that. And all of a sudden it started leaking out of this. Over here you can see, maybe you can see the small drop coolant here from the thermostat housing. So I took it off, bladder system, and what came out was nice and clean. Because it's new coolant, but it could be contaminated with old coolant and old residue. I put in silicone gasket, let it cure overnight, and then I had to run home. So let's start with filling the cooling system, and then connect the intake. I decided to throw all covers on. I said I wanted to inspect the spark plug gaskets for leaks, but I decided to throw everything on and hope for the best. And then I can hopefully start a car for the first time. Here, so I'll have just over 10 liters in, and it's filled to the brim. Let's just pour the rest of it in the expansion tank. Next level. And there we are. So that's the cooling system filled, and it took 10.4 liters of the prescribed 10.6. So welcome to the other side of the car. Going to install this cover. This in here. Done. Maybe you next up this cover, I believe. Well, I'm unable to find the cover that goes here. It must be kicking somewhere around in the shop, but I can find it. But no worries. I'll install the intake first. So next up is the air intake. I need to find a connecting hose. Got a new air filter. You could grow mushrooms and any other fungi in the old one. It was dirty and wet and also moldy. Got the filter installed. Next up is the intake with the air sensor, and this in fact isn't a mass airflow meter, it's an air volume meter. It utilizes the Kalman vortex principle. It generates a vortex, and there's a small LED and a light sensitive sensor in there that can see the vortex, the airflow, the rotational motion in the air, and by that it means the amount of air, the volume that's coming in, and then it uses the ambient temperature, to calculate the air mass. It's a very different system from what we're used to see. There is this honeycomb in there. I can see it. That generates a linear airflow, and there is a small vortex generator, which is a static part that generates a vortex, shines a light on there, and a sensor sees the motion, and by that the ECU can calculate the amount of air that's coming in. I might have to take everything off again, unless I can wiggle the connector out of there. My phone memory ran out, so I didn't record anything. Anywho, I got the intake installed. I checked all the hoses and lines on this side for leaks and enough tightening, and the cable clamps and all. Gonna do the same on that side. Couldn't find cover that goes on the injector rail. It was over here, it was pitch black, didn't see it. Put that on, tighten that one, and then we're off to the first start attempt. Okay everyone, I think I'm ready for the big moment, the first start of the car, so I'll hop in. Expected the car to have to crank a little because the fuel system still has to bleed. Then once the car is running, I'll inspect everything under the hood. When everything is running nice without any weird sounds, I let it idle and get it up a bit to temperature, and then see how we'll round off this episode. So, wish me good luck. I only need to find my work lamp and remove the last loose parts that are under the hood. That whining noise you heard was the power steering pump, so I'm going to inspect it. Well folks, that didn't go as hoped, but it kind of went as expected. We have a major leak on this side. I'll try to show this on camera, but anyway, on the number 4 cylinder, the injector is leaking badly, probably from the connection on top of the injector to the fuel rail. So that's excellent, worst possible location. And down here, let me see if I can get it on camera. On that bolt on the intake runners, there's a bunch of coolant leaking, and I saw this clip missing. Hopefully it comes from there. Good news, these two aren't leaking, but it means I have to take off the intake again. Let's see if I can wiggle the fuel rail on the right hand side cylinder bank loose and diagnose the problem I have. And that's what I also don't like is the incredible noise the power steering pump makes. I'm beginning to doubt the fact that I have rebuilt this, but it's noisy and it's rattling. So not sure where I'm going from here. But first I'll take the intake off, the first part of the throttle body, and see where the leak is. So, well, anyway guys, As I said, it didn't go as hoped and it kind of went as expected. So I really hope you like following me along, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Bye bye.